Flashback to Noe as a kid. His teacher is dropping some deep lore about true names. The teacher explains that a true name is the formula that makes you who you are. Lose that, and it's game over. Back in the present, the news in Paris is looking rough. Vampires are apparently back and catching bodies. People on the ship are gossiping about it, but most think it's just a bunch of scary myths. Noah is just overhearing the conversation while vibing in the main hall. He spots a woman named Amelia who looks like she's about to pass out. He steps in to help her out. She's definitely struggling with something. Noe offers to take her to the infirmary, but she's not having it. She insists she's fine and is already on her way to see a specific doctor. Mur the cat decides to jump into the middle of the conversation and scares the life out of her. Amelia chills out and starts hugging Mur. She thinks he's super soft and warm. Noe takes the opportunity to formally introduce himself and asks for her name. An announcement comes on saying the airship La Baleine is hitting Paris in an hour. Noe gets a massive surge of hype, hearing they're almost at their destination. He basically teleports to the window to get a better look. A massive shot of the La Baleine airship floating through the clouds. This thing is huge. He's literally screaming Paris at the window. Zero chill. Amelia starts laughing at how excited he is. Turns out it's his first time ever being on an airship. Noe admits he spent his whole life hidden away in a forest, so this is all brand new to him. He's genuinely impressed that the power of Astermite can keep something this massive in the air. When Amelia asks if he's a tourist, he gets serious. He's looking for something important. That something is the legendary book of Vanitas. He asks if she's heard the bedtime story about the vampire of the blue moon. Once upon a time, there was a vampire named Vanitas who everyone absolutely hated. Vampires are usually born under a red moon, but he was born under a blue one, which is basically a bad luck charm. The other vampires kicked him out of the village. Freezing and alone, he swore he'd get his revenge. He created a grimoire with a blue leather cover and jet black pages to carry out his plan. The book was designed to interfere with true names and wipe out every vampire in existence. A clock chime cuts the story short. It's almost time to land. Amelia suddenly stops and starts shivering. She says she's freezing cold. Noe thinks back to the letter his teacher sent him about the book. The letter confirmed that the Book of Vanitas is definitely in Paris, and he needs to find it. He's determined to find out if the book is actually real or just a myth. But Amelia collapses right then and there. When Noe tries to help her up, she lashes out and screams at him to get away. The whole room goes quiet as people realize something is seriously wrong with her. Her eyes start glowing a bright, menacing red in the dark. She bares her fangs at Noe. Yep. She's a vampire. Suddenly, the glass above them shatters into a million pieces. A figure dives through the ceiling, aiming straight for Amelia like a heat-seeking missile. The guy lands on the railing and realizes he missed his mark for a second. He looks up with a wild, cocky grin. Meet Vanitas. Noe is like, "Who even are you?" while holding on to Amelia for dear life. Vanitas just gives him a choice. Drop the girl and leave, or catch these hands. Noe is a real one and gives him a straight-up, hard pass. Vanitas decides talking is over and lunges. Noe dodges like he's playing on zero ping. The guy is actually impressed. Moving that fast while carrying someone is a total flex. Noe is confused by the wire attack. Amelia is looking like she's about to log out. Vanitas tries to trap him, but Noe isn't falling for the bait. He lands a massive kick that sends Vanitas flying across the room. Vanitas is shook. He didn't expect the silver-haired guy to actually have hands, but he's right back at it, using some kind of flash to blind Noe. Noe jumps back, trying to keep Amelia safe from the fallout. He catches her mid-air. The situation is getting more chaotic by the second. Vanitas just gets back up and starts laughing. His homie Dante is just watching from the sidelines. "My bad, I was trolling a bit," Vanitas says, completely unbothered by the blood on his face. Noe notices the red eyes. He realizes he's not dealing with a normal human. Vanitas gets serious. He says Amelia is basically on 1% HP and running out of time. Inside Amelia's head, everything is freezing. She's stuck in a total mental icebox. She sees a creepy shadow figure in the middle of a white void. The shadow is asking her to just hand over her true name, like it's no big deal. Suddenly, black ink starts blotting out her entire world. She feels her life and her name just fading into pitch black. In the real world, she's absolutely losing it and screaming her lungs out. Noe tries to help, but things are going south fast. Without warning, Amelia lunges and bites Noe's shoulder. She's shivering, crying about being so cold she might die. She says she needs something warm. This is about to get messy. She sinks her fangs into his neck. The bite is deep and full of blood. Noe realizes this is a "this is bad" moment. He's caught in 4K. He can feel his energy literally being deleted as she drains him dry. Amelia pulls back, looking like a total sleep demon. She finally feels warm. Then, these massive black thorns start erupting from her body like a glitch. The briars go wild, attacking everyone in the room and causing pure chaos. Noe tries to get through to her, but she's completely lost to the sauce. Vanitas warns that if she doesn't stop, the authorities are gonna delete her for real. Noe starts feeling super sluggish. The bite definitely had some heavy debuffs. Vanitas is just watching the chaos unfold with zero concern. He's really out here saying, "I told you so," while Noe is struggling. Vanitas steps up. He's seen enough of the symptoms to know what's up. Dante asks if he's got the diagnosis. Vanitas is 100% sure of it. He identifies it as a malnomen, eglantine, the prison of briars. He explains that these maladies are what happen when a vampire's true name gets corrupted. Because her name is warped, she's lost her self-control and is just acting on pure bloodlust. Noe asks if he's a church executioner come to delete her. Dante tells Vanitas to stop stalling. Vanitas is actually wheezing. He thinks being called a chasseur or executioner is pure comedy. He clarifies he's actually a doctor specializing in vampires. He's here for the cure, not the kill. Noe recognizes the grimoire from the stories. Jet black pages and silver chains. He's totally shook. Vanitas prepares to get to work. He's about to give Amelia her true name back. The grimoire starts glowing, and the black briars start dissolving into nothing. Inside her head, Amelia's world stops being a nightmare. The icebox vibe is gone. She feels actual sunlight and warmth for the first time in forever. The light is her own, her real self coming back online. Vanitas holds her as her true name is revealed. Florafel, she who guides spring. He tells her the name is a total vibe and suits her perfectly. Dante is just done with the drama. Amelia is crying happy tears. She finally remembers who she is. She passes out, but it's just from exhaustion. The guards burst in like they're raiding a lobby. "Hands up!" the guards shout, acting like they're the main characters. Vanitas and Dante are already planning the exit. Dante says they need to bounce. Vanitas warns the guards that getting involved is a massive mistake. They jump through the glass, making a dramatic exit, while Vanitas just laughs. Vanitas grabs Noe by the coat and basically drags him along for the ride. They're free-falling through the sky. Noe is absolutely screaming his head off. Noe sees the moon and the city lights below him. The view is insane. He looks up at the moon, stuck in a memory for a second. He remembers being told that the blue moon is basically a permanent debuff for vampires. In the memory, everyone is scared of the moon's power. But young Noe isn't buying the hype. He tells his teacher that he doesn't find it scary at all. In his eyes, the moon is actually beautiful, a total masterpiece. His teacher tells him he needs to head to Paris immediately to find the truth. The goal: find the Book of Vanitas and see for himself if it's actually cursed or just misunderstood. Back in the present, Noe is lying in the ruins of their landing. He's still processing. Vanitas is losing it, laughing because they actually survived that fall. Noe thinks he's insane. Noe gets in his face, demanding to know what kind of dark magic he used on Amelia. Vanitas calls it an inverse operation. It's basically a system restore for vampires. He explains he used the book to rewrite the corruption in her true name. Noe is actually impressed. He calls the whole thing phenomenal, giving off major fanboy energy. Vanitas is blindsided. Nobody has ever looked at that cursed book with that much hype before. Vanitas finds his reaction hilarious. He decides Noe is officially a real one and asks for his name. Noe introduces himself. Vanitas thinks it's a solid name choice. Then the man reveals his own name, Vanitas. He's the human who inherited the legendary title. He tells Noe he needs a partner and asks for his help. He's looking for a teammate. Noe is stunned. He didn't expect the vampire killer to ask him for a collab. Vanitas explains that the corruption maladies are spreading fast. If they don't do something, it's over. He says if they don't fix the true names, the entire vampire race is basically doomed. He's going to stop it his own way, even if the whole world thinks he's a villain. He's got that main character grin. He doesn't care about the rules. He's just here to win. Vanitas is fully locked in, promising to save them without fail like he's the hero of the story. Noe is just staring into the distance, completely overwhelmed by the absolute madness he's in. He starts reflecting on everything they gained and lost, wondering if this was the right move. Vanitas hits him with that smug, I'm the main character look that's honestly kind of annoying. Flashback to his teacher dropping some deep lore about curse bearers while they were just chilling. Noe asks whose curse it is, and the teacher basically points the finger at the legend of Vanitas. He remembers a girl living her best life before everything went south. The teacher warned him that even if a curse bearer was right there, he might not see it coming. The moon is out here looking like a whole omen, reminding everyone of the blue moon story. Noe sends a mental, hope you're good, to his teacher, while processing his current life choices. He summarizes his arrival in Paris and how he met a guy claiming to be a vampire doctor. Noe saw the man perform a literal miracle on a vampire right in front of him. Fast forward to the present, and they're both in jail. Noe is rightfully asking why they're locked up. 10 hours earlier, Vanitas was still begging Noe to join his squad and lend some muscle. Noe is giving him a hard pass, and Vanitas is losing his mind over being rejected. They pull up to a massive building, and Vanitas looks like he's about to hit 0% battery. He collapses from the drain, and the guards immediately spot them like they're playing a stealth game. Vanitas explains that Noe was basically knocked out by poison for half a day. Noe is not amused. Noe is tilted because he got arrested just for being an accomplice by proximity. Vanitas is way too calm in a prison cell, asking if Noe is just salty about the book. Noe remembers his teacher being peak vague about finding the true character of the grimoire. Vanitas calls the teacher out for being a total cryptid with his instructions. Noe looks at him and wonders if he's a literal angel or just a walking red flag. He finally asks the real question. How did a human end up with the Book of Vanitas? Vanitas is basically telling Noe he's joining the squad if he wants that book. Noe's just like, wait, what? Flashback time. Noe remembers his teacher telling him to stay close to the book's owner to figure out if it's actually legit. Noe is having a whole internal crisis because he low-key hates Vanitas, but he has to follow the mission. Suddenly, a loud clank ruins the vibe. Turns out they were in a cell the whole time. The officer lets them out because they can't hold them anymore. Noe gets handed a card. Apparently, humans just delete vampire incidents from their memory, like a bad browser history. Vanitas explains that the vampires and humans work together to hush the whole thing up. It's an invitation from the Count. Also, Mur the cat finally shows up and Noe is absolutely living for it. Noe is officially in Paris for the first time and he's totally starstruck. The city is a whole steampunk aesthetic with carriages and fancy buildings everywhere. Vanitas is looking smug, while Noe is basically a tourist taking everything in. The streets are packed. It's definitely a lot to handle for a country boy. Vanitas does the most extra pose ever, welcoming Noe to the City of Flowers. Noe's actually blushing. The Paris vibes are hitting him a little too hard. We get a quick montage of market stalls and old architecture, cathedral spires and organ grinders. The atmosphere is truly immaculate. Reality hits, and Vanitas is absolutely drained from trying to keep Noe from wandering off. He's wheezing because Noe is basically a golden retriever that won't stop running away. They head inside for a history lesson. After the war, most vampires disappeared behind a barrier, but a few are still living among humans, just hiding in plain sight. They're here to meet Parks Orlok, the guy who keeps the peace between worlds. Suddenly, someone puts a blade to their neck. Talk about a warm welcome. Vanitas is completely unfazed, just complaining that they didn't even give him a chance to knock. We finally see Parks Orlok. He's not buying the Vanitas act for a second. Orlok knows him as the vampire doctor who's been messing with curse bearers. Noe finds Myrrh, but realizes something super important is missing from their stuff. Vanitas gets serious, asking about the serial killer currently terrorizing Paris. He cuts the small talk and demands they return his book and Amelia immediately. Noe's worried. He thought Amelia would be free by now after being cured. Instead, Amelia is chained up and muzzled. Orlok says they're going to dispose of her. Noe is not having it. He screams that she's already been cured. Orlok holds up the book of Vanitas, looking at it like it's literal trash. He laughs in their faces. Cursed grimoires aren't a thing, so he thinks the book is a total scam. Vanitas snaps back. It's only trash to Orlok because he's too dumb to know how to use it. Orlok thinks Vanitas is just some human plotter trying to stir up a mess. Vanitas says he's trying to save them, but Orlok is stuck in the past where curse bearers just get beheaded. We see a glimpse of the old ways, vampires being executed without a second thought. Noe clenches his fist. This whole execute first, ask questions later vibe is definitely not it. Vanitas goes off, calling them senile old fools who stopped thinking for themselves. He's got that main character energy, smiling through the threats. The guards move in, but Vanitas is already 10 steps ahead of them. He starts smashing things, turning the whole office into a literal disaster zone. Vanitas basically turned the office into an escape room. Everyone's just standing there like, "Sir, this is a Wendy's." Noe finally agrees to the plan. He's low-key done with the drama, but knows he has to see this through. Vanitas explains that the Paris incidents are definitely curse-bearer work. Noe's listening like it's a true crime podcast. Noe's suddenly the most motivated guy in the room, shouting about catching the culprit like a shonen protagonist. Noe's trying to convince Orlok that if he doesn't trust the human, he should trust a fellow vampire. He's really out here playing the race card. Orlok finally cracks and gives them a 24-hour extension on Amelia's life. Better get moving, besties. Noe's out here spacing out in the middle of a literal coup. Vanitas has to physically snap him back to reality. Noe tries to act tough, saying he's not helping Vanitas, but Vanitas is already claiming him as his new partner. Vanitas hands Noe the grimoire and starts pointing fingers. The confidence on this man is off the charts. They're making a break for it, laughing like they didn't just threaten a high-ranking official. Myrrh is just along for the ride. Vanitas is dragging Noe along, genuinely hyped about how interesting his new vampire shield is. Noe's got that internal monologue going. He's determined to save Amelia, no matter how chaotic this human gets. Cut to a whole different vibe. People are gossiping about the airship incident, while Master Luca and his knight, Jean, lurk in the shadows. Jean looks like she's ready to end someone's career. She's definitely not here for the sightseeing. Luca's trying to be the voice of reason, telling Jean to keep the body count low. She's just like, bet. Jean says she's gonna crush everyone. And honestly, with that look, I believe her. Back to our main duo. Vanitas is yelling for Noe because the man literally wandered off again. Noe's running full speed into the unknown. When Vanitas asks if he even knows where he's going, he's just like, nope. mood. Enter Dante, the information broker. He's looking smug with his little bat friend, ready to drop some tea. Vanitas and Dante are already bickering over money. Dante's out here being a whole miser while the world's at stake. Vanitas introduces Dante as his frequent flyer for info, but Noé's just confused. Dante's salty about being remembered as the bald guy. Vanitas is just bragging that Noé is stronger, sturdier, and, most importantly, free. Dante finally drops the info. He found the ninefold murderer. It's officially go time. Dante's got a whole fan club in the background screaming his name. Main character energy in the weirdest places. Dante hands over a mechanical bat to lead the way. Vanitas is complaining about the price of info, but he's still paying up. Noé decides the fastest way is over the buildings. He just yeets himself into the air like it's nothing. Rooftop parkour time. They're zooming across Paris while Noé wonders what he actually signed up for. Vanitas is complaining about being followed, while someone with very expensive taste in shoes watches from the shadows. Meet Johann, Dante's much more polite partner. He's here with some extra special info that's probably bad news. Johann drops a bombshell. Lord Ruthven's personal executioner is in the city. The stakes just did a 180. Johann's basically saying they're cooked if they get caught. But they've already committed to the bit. He gives them the rundown on Thomas Bernot, the vampire who's been going on a rapid-fire killing spree. Vanitas admits he put the murderer hunt on hold to save Amelia, but now the two cases are finally overlapping. They find the location, a sketchy factory district by the river. Perfect spot for a boss fight. They arrive just in time to hear someone screaming. The vibe is officially cursed. Thomas Bernot is caught in 4K attacking a victim. He's looking completely unhinged. Vanitas tags in Noé to stop the crazed vampire. Teamwork makes the dream work, I guess. Noé goes in for the tackle, but this vampire isn't going down without a fight. Suddenly, a wild explosion appears. Someone else just crashed the party. Noé and Vanitas get blown back. They're looking at the new challengers like, really? Right now? Noé manages to pin the murderer down, and Vanitas pulls out the book to finally do his thing. But before he can even start the ritual, a massive blast of light swallows everything. Noé drops a quick electroshock on the murderer to keep him down, hoping to bring him back to Orlok in one piece. Amelia is relieved that things are settling down, but Vanitas is already looking at the new arrivals like they're about to ruin his whole afternoon. Luca and Jean step out of the shadows, looking like they just finished a dramatic slow walk scene. Even Vanitas is impressed they pinned a curse bearer so fast. Luca does the whole official introduction thing, letting everyone know that his bodyguard is the legendary Jean. Main character energy, honestly. Luca is trying to be polite while asking for the book of Vanitas, but everyone knows this is basically a high-stakes robbery. Vanitas is just standing there, holding the grimoire, watching the tiny child ask for his most prized possession. The vibe is officially awkward. Vanitas hits them with a hard no, telling Luca that the book isn't a toy for little kids. The audacity on this man is truly next level. The refusal hits like a truck, and the tension in the room just tripled. Jean is already looking for a reason to throw hands. Vanitas asks the obvious question. Why do they even want a book that basically brings destruction to vampires? Plot thickens. Luca explains that the grimoire is a catastrophic device used to interfere with true names and create curse bearers. He's out here dropping lore like it's nothing. Vanitas looks like he's having a great time, asking if Luca thinks he's the one spreading the curse. The grin on his face is deeply unsettling. Luca suggests that Vanitas might just be a victim himself, possessed by the book. He thinks the only solution is to delete the grimoire entirely. Noé jumps in to defend the book, but Luca is not hearing it. He's in a rush to save someone precious to him. Talk about a "we're not so different" moment. Luca's motivation is finally clear. Someone close to him is suffering as a curse bearer, and he's desperate enough to believe any cock and bull story. Vanitas hits him with the "I'm a doctor" line, offering to heal the patient instead of destroying the book. It's a bold move, Cotton. Vanitas is trying to sell himself as the solution, but he's making it sound more like a threat. Classic Vanitas. Luca is absolutely not buying the "I'll heal him" pitch. He's convinced the Blue Moon curse is the problem, not the solution. The conversation officially devolves into "give me the book or else," and Jean is just waiting for the signal to end everyone's career. Luca decides that talking is pointless and calls for Jean to take action. This is the part where things go from 0 to 100. Jean moves so fast, she's basically a blur. Noe and Vanitas barely have time to realize they're about to get wrecked. Noe manages to block the first strike, but the impact looks like it broke the sound barrier. The girl has zero chill. Jean stares them down with eyes that say, "I chose violence today." The absolute coldness is a whole vibe. Vanitas is just standing there with that smirk, asking if they're really going to try and take the book by force. "Sir, have you seen her gauntlet?" Luca looks almost apologetic for what's about to happen, but he's still giving the order. "Take it from him," he says, like it's a simple chore. Jean locks in, and you can practically hear the boss music starting. She's promising to try and take Vanitas alive, but no guarantees. The crimson gauntlet starts glowing, and everyone knows this is where the property damage really begins. R.I.P. to the factory floor. Vanitas recognizes the weapon and realizes they're dealing with a bourreau. He finally decides that running is a very good idea. He starts geeking out about the lore, explaining that this woman is Lord Ruthven's personal executioner. No's just like, "Can we focus on the dying part?" Jean, also known as the Hellfire Witch, isn't waiting for the history lesson to end. She's already launching another attack. A massive blast of energy erupts from the gauntlet, turning the whole area into a literal furnace. She's definitely not holding back. The explosion is so big, it's probably visible from space. Noe and Vanitas are out here fighting for their lives in the middle of a supernova. Noe is realizing that Jean has zero intention of taking anyone alive. She's out here playing for keeps. Vanitas is yelling for Noe to move, finally showing a bit of actual concern now that things are properly exploding. Jean is basically a one-woman army, tearing through the factory like it's made of wet paper. The power scaling here is insane. Vanitas realize they're in deep trouble and shouts for Noe to run. The "oh crap" expression is universal. Another massive flash of light swallows the scene, proving that Jean's best effort to take him alive is mostly just a suggestion. The building is literally falling apart around them. It's less of a fight and more of a natural disaster with a cool outfit. When the dust starts to settle, Jean is standing atop the rubble like she owns the place, which, after that blast, she basically does. She's looking for Vanitas, but all she finds is a smoking crater and some very confused bystanders. Where'd the man go? Noe is pushing himself back up, grit in his teeth and probably a lot of questions in his head. That girl is scary. Vanitas is actually impressed by the weapon, even though it almost vaporized him. The man has no survival instinct, only vibes. They're already planning their next move, while the factory continues to crumble. This chapter is just one long boss fight. Noe is freaking out because he thinks Jean is actually going to kill Luca in the crossfire. Vanitas just shouts his name, probably to tell him to get his head in the game. Luca screams for Jean to stop, begging her not to kill anyone. He's trying to be the voice of reason while his bodyguard is busy turning the factory into a crater. Luca grabs Jean, reminding her that she's his chevalier, not just some mindless executioner. It's a pretty heavy moment for a kid to handle. Jean snaps out of it, looking totally shaken by what she almost did. The Hellfire Witch title is clearly a lot for her to carry. Orlok's office feels like a lifetime ago. Back at the hideout, Vanitas is being his usual dramatic self, complaining that nobody ever listens to him. Noe is just trying to stop his arm from bleeding out. Priority check, maybe? Vanitas admits that the fear of the blue moon is pretty standard for vampires. He knows everyone thinks his book is just a fancy death warrant. He explains that the grimoire interferes with true names, and his treatment is basically fixing what's been warped. It sounds good on paper, but the delivery is a little sketchy. Vanitas points out that just because a tool can destroy something doesn't mean it has to. He's out here giving a TED Talk on ethical weapon usage. Noe's still looking skeptical. Noe remembers the moment Vanitas saved Amelia. To him, that sight wasn't just impressive. It felt right. Looks like someone's finally joining the fan club. Noe shouts his newfound conviction, declaring that regardless of what the book was made for, Vanitas did save her. It's a total protagonist speech moment. Vanitas just stares at him with this blank, "Are you for real?" expression. He really doesn't know how to handle genuine sincerity. It's almost funny. Then he just starts losing it, laughing like Noe is the funniest person he's ever met. He even calls him an interesting fellow, which is basically a high compliment in Vanitas speak. Noe is just confused. Vanitas suddenly gets serious, claiming he's steeled himself for what's coming next. He's got that look in his eye that usually means a lot of property damage is imminent. He claims he's found a way to actually win against the Hellfire Witch. Noe looks like he's reconsidering his life choices, while Vanitas just grins. Typical. Vanitas is locked in, looking ready to take on the world. Or at least a very angry vampire with a glowing gauntlet. The chaos is only just getting started. To be continued. Dante and Johann are absolutely losing it, because apparently someone named Riche is out here trailing a curse bearer. Johann is full-on sobbing while Dante tells him to quit being such a dramatic mess and shut up. Luca is hiding out, but he's feeling like a total coward for leaving Jean to do all the heavy lifting. The kid grips his bag, looking like he's about to make a very questionable and reckless decision. Meanwhile, Noe is basically parkouring in midair to avoid getting flattened by Jean's massive mechanical gauntlet. Jean isn't playing around, swinging that arm with enough heat to level a whole block. She stops to scan the area for a second, wondering where the hell Vanitas disappeared to. Vanitas just pops up out of thin air, landing on Noe's back like a human backpack. Noe catches him, but Vanitas is already asking to be yeeted right back into the danger zone. Noe just goes with the flow and throws the guy straight toward the target. They take a quick breather to talk shop, admitting Jeannie's reflexes are actually low-key terrifying. She doesn't give them a moment to breathe, closing the gap with another heavy strike. Noe tells Vanitas to go ahead while he stays behind to hold down the fort. Jean screams at them to move, but Noe isn't budging an inch. He realizes she's strong, but compared to the teacher he grew up with, she's almost tame. He's ready to handle her solo, putting his own strength to the test. Jean's looking pretty intense, and she's definitely not vibing with the delay. She lets out a massive blast from her gauntlet that absolutely wrecks the street and everything on it. Noe gets caught in the smoke and debris, but the guy is surprisingly still on his feet. He wipes some blood off his face, looking like he's just getting started. Johann and Dante are watching the chaos from the sidelines, still panicking. Dante tells Johann to pipe down, so they don't get spotted by the Hellfire Witch. Vanitas is just chilling with Luca, letting him know he didn't actually kill his friend earlier. He looks almost bored, saying the legend of the Hellfire Witch was way more hype than the reality. The stories claim she was a ruthless warrior who tore through battlefields like a force of nature. Vanitas just smirks, calling her a total disappointment compared to the hype. He decides it's time for a proper intro, whipping out the Book of Vanitas to make a statement. He claims he's from the clan of the Blue Moon and has basically inherited their power. Noe's just standing there like, wait, what is this guy even saying? Vanitas tells Jean he's about to show her his true form, putting everyone on edge. Suddenly, Amelia screams Jeannie's name as something massive crashes through the scene. It's the ninefold murderer, and he's looking absolutely feral and out for blood. He lunges at Jean, catching her completely off guard and drawing blood. Vanitas is just standing there with a told-you-so look, watching the monster do his dirty work. He quips that fighting monsters is a job best left to other monsters, not humans. While the monster distracts her, Vanitas finally makes his move with the book. Dante and Johann realize the whole true form thing was just a massive bluff to buy time. Vanitas tells the fallen witch to just sit back and watch how a pro handles it. He turns his full attention to the beast, ready to finish what they started. The malnomen has turned the guy into a mindless wolf that only knows how to hunt. Vanitas opens the grimoire and initiates the inverse operation to fix the corrupted formula. He shouts out the true name, Bucolicus, and the dark energy finally starts to break. Thomas Bernot is straight up confused, looking at his hands like he's seeing them for the first time. Dante and Johann are watching from the sidelines, looking absolutely stunned that the miracle actually worked. Dante is already thinking about the report they have to give to Count Orlok, no cap. Vanitas is just standing there, looking like he's already over the whole situation. Jean is struggling to even stand, still paralyzed and breathing heavy. She's still trying to put up a fight though. That girl's got some serious grit. Noe pops out of nowhere holding Luca, and Jean is low-key losing it. Vanitas starts negotiating with the Hellfire Witch, making it very clear he's the one calling the shots. Jean is furious, but she's caught in a tough spot because they've got Luca. Noe is just watching the drama unfold, probably wondering why he's even here. Vanitas is explaining his hostage situation like it's just another casual business meeting. Luca is trying to say something, but Vanitas isn't having any of it right now. Jean starts pleading for Luca's safety, and you can tell she's absolutely heartbroken. Vanitas is just staring her down, zero sympathy in those cold eyes. He starts laughing in her face, mocking her for actually having someone to protect. He gets right in her personal space, telling her that caring about others is exactly what makes her weak. Then he pulls a total 180 and says he takes it back. Like the chaotic man he is, he tells her that her weakness actually makes her more beautiful. Talk about mixed signals. Jean is just confused as hell, asking what he's even talking about. And then Vanitas just goes for it. A full-on kiss right there in front of everyone. Johann, Dante, and Amelia are caught in 4K, looking absolutely horrified by what they're seeing. Noe is straight up malfunctioning. He definitely did not sign up for this kind of mission. Vanitas is really leaning into it, while Jean is just completely frozen in shock. He finally pulls away, leaving Jean looking like she just saw a literal ghost. She's blushing so hard she might actually combust on the spot. Vanitas is just vibing, saying the whole experience was truly marvelous. He tells her he wants to see every different side of her. This guy is a whole red flag. He declares that this feeling is definitely love. Sure, Vanitas. Whatever helps you sleep at night. Then he hits her with the "marry me and be mine." The audacity is really off the charts. Everyone else is just watching this absolute disaster, wishing they were anywhere else. Luca is having a full-blown meltdown, screaming about what Vanitas just did to Jean. Jean is back on her feet, but she's still visibly shaking from the shock of it all. She grabs Luca and prepares to bail, clearly done with this entire situation for today. She swears she'll kill him next time they meet, and honestly, I don't blame her. Vanitas is just laughing like a maniac, having the absolute time of his life. Dante realizes Thomas Bernoux managed to slip away while all that nonsense was going down. Vanitas is still cackling, while everyone else just stares at him in dead silence. He tells No that things are finally starting to get actually interesting. Meanwhile, Thomas is hauling it out of there, realizing he's finally free. He's wondering what kind of person Vanitas even is, which is a very fair question to ask. He knows he can't go back now that he's killed people. Orlok would never let it slide. Suddenly, Dominique de Sade appears out of nowhere, catching him dead in his tracks. Thomas Bernoux is officially out of the game, looking pretty dead on the floor with Dominique de Sade on the scene. They're definitely stressed, saying they need to report this to Master Parks immediately because things just got real. Cue the spooky flashback. Charlatan, that shadowy spirit with the creepy grin, is out here doing the most in stealing true names. We see a young Noe out in a field, looking like he's just vibing before the trauma hits. He's talking to Louis, probably about something normal before everything goes south. But then things take a dark turn and someone's bleeding out. Noe looks absolutely traumatized. Louis is just lying there on the grass, casually asking Noe if he wants to drink his blood, like it's a normal request. He tells Noe not to worry, because once he drinks, he won't have to see any of this mess anymore. Then Louis starts screaming, and something definitely goes wrong. The vibes are absolutely rancid. A loud crack echoes through the air, and the dream finally shatters into pieces. Noe wakes up in a cold sweat, clutching his chest like he just ran a marathon. He's in a hotel bed now, thank God. He's just staring at the ceiling, trying to convince himself it was just a nightmare and not a repressed memory. Mur decides it's time for him to wake up, while Vanitas is already out on the balcony doing main character things. Vanitas is literally just sitting on the roof eating breakfast, because why use a table when you can sit on tiles? He's reading the paper and talking about how Paris is actually pretty now that it's not covered in coal soot. He's giving a whole lesson on astermite, the new energy source that basically saved the city's air quality. Apparently, this panacea stone didn't even exist before the Babel incident rewrote the world's whole code. Noe is just soaking it in, thinking about how wild it is that the laws of physics were just rewritten like that. They decide it's time to head back to Count Orlok's place and see if they can finally get some real answers. Last night was a total fail since they got turned away at the door, and Noe is low-key worried about Amelia. They finally make it inside, and Count Parks Orlok drops the bombshell news that Thomas Bernot is dead. Orlok says it definitely wasn't a suicide, which means there's a whole other mess they have to deal with now. Noe is asking who did it, but Orlok's just like, "We're looking into it," which is basically code for, "We have no clue." Suddenly, Amelia busts through the door looking like she's ready to cry from absolute relief. Orlok decided she's going to work as a maid at their hotel so he can keep an eye on her. Problem solved, I guess. Noe is just happy she's safe, while Vanitas is in the corner being his usual skeptical self about the whole thing. Noe is thinking about how the old man is only being nice now that the actual danger is over. Typical behavior. Vanitas is all smiles, telling Orlok he can use him as much as he wants, as long as he gets to fix curse bearers. Orlok hands over a letter for the hotel, and basically tells them to make sure they stay out of trouble in Paris. Vanitas and Noe are a bit surprised that the old man is actually being somewhat helpful for once. Noe is absolutely not here for Vanitas calling himself his guardian. The audacity is really something else. He ignores the chaos and tells Amelia he really needs to talk to her about what happened last night. Orlok is all ears, wanting to know what this talk about curse bearers is really all about. Noe asks Amelia if she remembers anything weird happening before she completely lost control. Vanitas gets straight to the point and asks if she saw Charlatan lurking in the shadows. Noe is dead serious, waiting for her answer like his whole life depends on it. Amelia admits she saw the parade of Charlatan and that things got foggy for her real fast. She's struggling to remember the details, and the tension in the room is high-key stressful. Orlok looks at Noe and asks why he doesn't just take a look at her memories himself. Noe looks like he just got caught off guard, probably wondering if he should actually go through with it. Orlok mentions he got a letter from Noe's teacher, while Dominique de Sade makes her presence known. Amelia is totally on board, asking if there's actually a way for him to search her memories like that. Amelia is all in, saying she's happy to help Noe with whatever he needs. So wholesome. Noe goes straight for the neck to drink her blood and read those memories. Amelia's face is a whole mood, and Dante is just standing there like, is this even allowed? Noe is officially in the zone, and Vanitas is watching him like he's about to drop a 5-star review on the performance. We're deep in the memory dive now, and Noe is seeing nothing but fog and the creepy parade of Charlatan in the distance. While Noe is busy hallucinating, The maid is giving Dante a quick lore dump on what an archivist actually does. Noe is literally falling into the deep end of Emilia's past, looking for that one specific memory that matters. He finally spots something that doesn't look like total chaos. Found it, he thinks, like he just found his lost keys in a void. A blinding light hits, and we see a younger Emilia looking absolutely lost in this weird, foggy dreamscape. She's basically wondering what the heck is going on and where she even is. Big same, girl. Then these creepy clown-masked figures start appearing out of nowhere, and the vibes are officially ruined. It's not just a few, it's a whole-ass parade of nightmare fuel, and they're definitely not here for a party. The parade of charlatan is in full swing, and it looks like something straight out of a bizarre horror movie. The sheer amount of weirdness in this parade is honestly impressive in a "I'm definitely going to have nightmares" kind of way. Younger Emilia is definitely not vibing with this, looking like she's about to bolt at any second. Charlatan, the literal shadow of doom, pops up and welcomes her to the parade like he's the world's worst host. Noe can feel her pure, unadulterated terror from the outside, and he knows this is where things get truly messy. Emilia is cornered by the shadows, and there's nowhere left for her to run. This is it. Naenia is right in her face, laughing like a villain who just won the lottery. "I found you," it whispers, and it's genuinely chilling. It starts demanding her true name, and you can practically see the corruption starting to set in. Emilia's scream in the memory is so loud it practically shakes the real world. Orlok and the maid are totally caught off guard by the noise. Noah snaps back to reality, gasping for air and looking like he just saw the end of the world. It's a whole lot to take in. Vanitas is dead serious now, realizing that charlatan is even more of a problem than he originally thought. He tries to play it cool and apologizes for the dramatic scene, but you can tell he's internally stressed. Suddenly, Dominique de Sade busts through the door, looking for Noé and scaring the absolute daylight out of the maid. Talk about an entrance. Noé's mind flashes back to the tragedy he can't escape. He's still blaming himself for everything that went wrong. Dominique de Sade, a tall, pale vampire woman with long black hair and a sharp military look, pops up and asks if anyone recognizes her. She doesn't wait for an answer before introducing herself. She drops a total bombshell, claiming she's Noé's fiancée. The confidence is honestly terrifying. Noé is too caught up in his own trauma to even process that. All he can think about is the monster he saw. Charlatan. Vanitas is back on his doctor grind, overanalyzing how the curse warped Emilia's true name. He's trying to connect the dots between the shadow creature and the grimoire. Noé isn't in the mood for logic. He's mostly just offended by Vanitas's absolutely mid drawing of the shadow monster. He's dead set on making that black creature pay for what it's doing. The pure spite in his eyes says it all. Dominique just barged into the room like she owns the place. She's been eavesdropping on their whole little strategy meeting. Noé's brain finally catches up to reality. He recognizes her immediately. It's Domi. She greets him with a casual "mon chéri," like they didn't just meet in the middle of a vampire crisis. Noé shuts down the fiancé talk faster than a blue screen. He's making it very clear that's not happening. She just laughs it off. Turns out it was just a prank to get a reaction out of him. Dominique leans in close, teasing Noé about how he's going to ruin his cute face if he keeps scowling like that. Vanitas is low-key shook that Noé actually has high society friends. Apparently, Noé's teacher is Dominique's grandfather. Dominique apologizes to Count Orlok for the intrusion, but makes it clear she's borrowing Noé for a while. Then she just puts a literal collar and leash on him. The lack of hesitation is wild. She claims her older sister gave it to her and that it suits him perfectly. Gift-giving is apparently her love language. She's taking him beyond the border to a fancy masquerade ball. Noé's just trying to figure out where his life went wrong. Noé tries to suggest she takes someone else, but she's already turning her back on his protests. She pulls him close, saying she was worried about him being a dangerously innocent country bumpkin. Dominique reminds him of the time he got lost in a forest for 4 days just looking for a rare bird. She's not letting him forget it. She warns him that Vanitas is a straight-up enigma who's probably just using him. The two of them head through a massive library to reach the secret passage. Dominique explains the border, a glitch in space that links the human world to the vampire realm of Altus. They reach a heavy mechanical gate that looks like it belongs in a steampunk nightmare. Dominique steps through the distortion, telling Noe to hurry up since they have a schedule to keep. She mentions that Lord Ruthven is going to be at the masquerade ball tonight. Since Ruthven is researching curse-bearers, they might actually get some real intel on Charlatan there. Suddenly, Vanitas just yeets himself straight into the spatial distortion right after them. The human doctor hits the ground with a solid thud on the other side. Vanitas catches up to them mid-transit, grabbing onto Noe like it's just a casual stroll. Noe is losing it. A human just jumped into a portal that could have literally erased him from existence. Vanitas' logic is simple. As long as he's touching a vampire, he can cross the border just fine. They make it out safe, and Vanitas smirks at Dominique, knowing she tried to ditch him. They finally step out of the passage and into the crowded streets of the vampire world. Noe is geeking out over Altus Paris. It's basically a gothic version of the human city, but even more extra. Under a massive moon, the other Paris stretches out before them. This town never really changes. Noe is still on the leash, which Vanitas finds hilarious. Dominique tells him not to wander off. They talk about Noe's teacher. Apparently, the other vampires are terrified of him and call him the Shapeless One. Vanitas is starting to realize Noe isn't just some random bumpkin. His connections are legit terrifying. The carriage they're taking is way too big. Noe's feeling a bit overwhelmed by the whole noble treatment. Dominique tells him he can't possibly go to a ball dressed like that. It's time for a major wardrobe upgrade. Dominique tells Noe to take off the collar and get changed already. She's going to go wait outside with Vanitas. Noe's low-key worried he annoyed her by bringing Vanitas along for the ride. Dominique says that's not it at all. She's just genuinely worried about him. She adjusts the collar, basically telling him to stop blaming himself for what went down in the past. It's heavy stuff. Noah just stays quiet, taking in the moment as the weight of her words hits. She gives him a back hug, which is a surprisingly wholesome moment for a duo that usually involves a leash. Noe's clearly going through it, and Dominique just notes that he smells nice. Way to break the tension. She's back to her usual self, asking if he wants a quick drink of her blood. A little vampire snack to go. Noe goes for it. I guess when you're an archiviste, blood drinking is just part of the job description. Flashback time. Turns out Noe was a straight-up orphan before he got pulled into this mess. Little Noe looks like he's seen way too much for a kid his age. Life was rough on the streets. Enter the teacher, a mysterious guy in a plague doctor mask who literally bought Noe at a black market auction. Talk about a weird origin story. Present day. And Vanitas is zooming into the ball like he's the star of the show. Main character behavior. The teacher starts dropping some serious lore about the world formula. Basically the code reality is written in. An alchemist named Paracelsus thought he could just rewrite the world's code to fix everything. Bold move. Plot twist. He totally messed it up. His experiment caused Babel, a literal reality warping disaster. After the Babel disaster, reality started glitching out and making things that weren't there before. We're talking weird minerals, glowing flowers, and red-eyed vampires. All just symptoms of the world code being rewritten. So vampires are basically a new race born when Babel glitched humanity's original constitutive formula. Unlucky. The teacher notes that most humans have zero clue reality is actually built on these invisible formulas. He says he's actually having fun because Noe came along with him. Wholesome or creepy? You decide. Flash forward to the present. The masquerade ball is in full swing, and it is absolutely aesthetic. The title card drops. It's the Night of Sneering Masks. Very dramatic. very gothic. Everyone is masked up, and the whole ballroom is peak dark fantasy vibes. Wealthy vampires sure know how to party. Noe and Dominique hit the dance floor. They're actually a total power couple when they want to be. Dominique's impressed he hasn't forgotten his moves while he was off being a hermit in the countryside. Noe's struggling, though. The masks and the clowns are triggering some major trauma from what he saw. While Dominique is worrying about Noe, Vanitas is busy being a total rislord with the lady guests. Look at this man. The hat, the eye patch, the rose. He's doing way too much, and he knows it. Vanitas is literally surrounding himself with a harem of fans. His main character energy is through the roof. Dominique grabs Noe again. Honestly, she probably needs to keep him on a short leash, literally and figuratively. She points out the pomander she gave him. It's meant to mask his scent, so vampires don't realize he's been hanging with a human. Dominique calls Noah her precious friend. Noah's just confused because vampire definitions of friend are always a mess. She knows why he wants her blood. It's not exactly the first time he's had a taste. Sus. Quick lore check. When an archivist drinks blood, they're forced to see the person's memories. Noe thinks it's rude to look without asking. Predictably, Noe got distracted and just wandered off somewhere else. Classic him. Meanwhile, Vanitas drags someone into a private room like he's about to drop the hottest tea of the century. He tells the masked women to prepare the usual. Is this guy a regular at every sketchy place in Paris? Turns out, these aren't people. They're literal automata. No one will come, one says. Creepy vibes only. Noe finds them and is genuinely shook by the human tech. Most vampires absolutely hate this stuff. Noe is panicking because Dominique and Vanitas both managed to get lost in the same building. Absolute chaos. He's frantically looking for Dominique while asking the plague-masked staff about Uncle and some marquee. Busy night. Noe bumps into Luca, in the hall. The kid looks like he's seen a ghost. Noe's like, wait, did you actually follow us here? Luca is definitely not supposed to be here. Johan, who is fully committed to the maid outfit undercover bit, asks who Noe is. Luca says they're friends. Noe isn't buying the friend excuse and pulls them aside to figure out what's actually going on. Meanwhile, someone is definitely hiding behind the curtains. The suspense is real. It's Jean, and she's gagged and crying. Vanitas has her pinned, and it's looking way too intense. Vanitas finds a literal torture wheel and is basically like, what is this even for? He proceeds to throw a knife at an apple on Jean's head. She doesn't even flinch. Hardcore. Jean is free now, but the vibes are still rancid. Vanitas notes she's actually got a good arm for throwing. She demands to know what Vanitas is planning to do with Noe. Protective night mode activated. Vanitas is being a total menace, threatening to carve up her flesh right then and there. He just laughs it off, calling her soft and naive for even caring. Then he drops the line about her being a convenient female. Bro, someone take his mic away. Jean is not impressed. She doesn't believe his Book of Vanitas Savior Act for a second. She asks why someone with the Blue Moon's power is acting like they want to save the Crimson Moon vampires. Do you actually worship the vampire of the Blue Moon? She's trying to figure out his deal. Close up on the eyes. Someone, maybe Noe or a guard, tells him to let him down. Jean is totally shaken. The idea of worshipping that vampire is clearly hitting her hard. Vanitas just starts laughing like a literal maniac. He's fully lost it. He says other vampires were fools for just arguing over whether his book even existed. Cut to the main ballroom, where Vanitas is literally swinging from the chandelier. The drama is peak. He shouts for everyone's attention. My name is Vanitas. He's officially crashing the party. The crowd is beyond confused. Noe is in the background, just dying of second-hand embarrassment. Vanitas declares he's going to prove he's kin to the vampire of the blue moon. He shows a glowing mark on his arm. This is the proof. It's basically a vampire ID card. The crowd is shook. It's a mark of possession, basically saying he owns his prey. He explains that these marks appear when a vampire embeds their power into someone else. He tells them their instincts already know who carved it. The crowd goes from confused to kill him real fast. Vanitas just opens the book, and the thing starts glowing like a rave. He shouts that he's here to use the book to save them, not kill them. Sure, Jan. Tremble with humiliation and let me save you. He is the ultimate troll. He basically tells them he's saving them whether they like it or not. No consent needed, apparently. Then he screams that this is his revenge on the original Vanitas. The plot thickens. Jean is watching the whole spectacle from the crowd, looking completely lost. Luca and Johann, still in the maid fit, are watching too. Everyone is just stunned. Noe is staring at him, probably wondering how his life ended up like this. A close-up on Vanitas. For a second, he actually looks like he knows what he's doing. The ball just keeps going in the background because the show must go on. Vanitas is doing some more dramatic gymnastics. He really loves an audience. This is revenge. He's really leaning into the bit now. Noe thinks to himself that for some reason, Vanitas' unhinged rant actually made sense. He's looking at Vanitas like he's finally seeing the real person under all that chaos. Vanitas is basically daring everyone in the room to admit they're a curse-bearer. He's telling them not to be shy about it. The crowd isn't having it. They're yelling for him to be killed, calling his presence obscene while he dangles from the chandelier. Noe, Luca, and Johann are having a group panic moment. Luca is genuinely lost on what Vanitas is trying to achieve. A new challenger enters. Veronica de Sade, looking absolutely regal in her butterfly mask and fan. She's wondering what a human is even doing there. Veronica complains that the stink of humans is so strong she might lose her nose. Dominique is shook. Her sister wasn't even supposed to be there. Veronica tells Marquise Machina, the mechanical-looking host, to get rid of the filth. But the Marquise thinks Vanitas is actually pretty interesting. Suddenly, Jeanne, the Hellfire Witch, steps in, declaring she'll deal with Vanitas herself. Luca and Johann can only watch in horror. Everything goes sideways. A chain snaps, the chandelier is destroyed, and Vanitas is caught in the middle of the absolute chaos. Total confusion in the ballroom. The human is gone, the chandelier is a mess, and everyone is wondering where he disappeared to. Veronica is intrigued that someone managed to snatch Vanitas in the blink of an eye. Meanwhile, a fake concerned voice is telling everyone how terrible this is. Veronica decides to turn it into a game and announces a human hunt to find and eliminate Vanitas. Noe realizes that the kidnapper was actually Jean. He's relieved, but also incredibly stressed because everyone else is looking for them now. Noe is trying to figure out why Jean would save Vanitas of all people. It doesn't really fit her executioner brand. Luca is literally in tears, apologizing to Noe for being a jerk. He saw the true name restore and realizes he was wrong about everything. Noe tells him to just call him Noe. They're officially on a first-name basis now. Noe says they have to find Vanitas fast, because if he dies, both of them are in major trouble. Luca is 100% on board. Something creepy is definitely watching. Shadowy figures with too many eyes think this all looks like fun. Charlatan has entered the chat. On a quiet balcony, Vanitas is being carried princess-style by Jean. He's actually enjoying it, which is peak Vanitas. Jean finally puts him down, looking absolutely done with his nonsense. Vanitas gives her that smug look. I didn't think we'd meet again so soon, Jean. He's really pushing his luck. He tries to go for a reunion hug or a kiss, and Jean is having none of it. As if anyone would. She's backed into a corner, looking completely flustered and telling him to stay away from her. Suddenly, the vibe shifts. Vanitas notices Genie is acting weird. A song starts playing in the background, but it's a jarring mix of human voices and mechanical grinding. The curse is spreading. Panic starts setting in. Everyone's looking at Catherine like she's suddenly turned into a horror movie monster, which, honestly, she has. The ballroom is absolute chaos. People are screaming and running for their lives as the party officially hits rock bottom. A curse bearer! The guests are losing it. The human hunt just took a very literal, very dangerous turn. It's a full-on outbreak now. Several vampires are losing control at once, and the energy in the room is straight up toxic. Total mayhem. People are trampling each other just to get to the doors, but the exit is looking pretty far away. What? The guards are confused, the guests are terrified, and nobody has any clue how to stop this meltdown. Someone's screaming for Master Lucius as the danger closes in. Luca's right in the middle of the mess. Suddenly, this guy shows up. It's the teacher, looking tall and creepy in a plague doctor mask, standing over the wreckage. Then this thing manifests. Charlatan. It's just a mass of eyes and shadows, and it looks like it's found its next target. It grabs Luca before he can even blink. That thing is moving way faster than any normal spirit should. Noe finally jumps in, looking completely horrified. He's trying to process what this shadowy nightmare even is. He doesn't wait for an answer. Noe lunges straight at the masked figure, desperate to get Luca back. They clash hard. Noe's putting his back into it, but the figure seems completely unfazed by the attack. Charlatan is just lurking in the background, a shifting mess of eyes watching the struggle like it's a game. Noe lands a heavy kick, trying to force some space. He's carrying the weight of the whole room right now. He's still demanding answers. What are you? But the shadow is just grinning back at him. It finally speaks, and the voice is pure nightmare fuel. Our name is Charlatan. Up on the balcony, Vanitas is just chilling, watching the massacre below like it's a reality TV show. But Jean isn't doing so hot. Vanitas notices the signs immediately. The thirst, the trembling. She's a curse-bearer too. She's fighting it with everything she's got, but that bloodlust is hitting her like a freight train. Vanitas decides to be weirdly helpful for once. He pulls off his glove and offers his own arm to her. Drink my blood. He says it so casually, like he's offering her a snack and not his actual veins. He's even got that annoying smirk on. He tells her he'll give her his blood, no questions asked, supposedly. Jean can smell it now. The scent of human blood is making it impossible for her to stay calm. He claims there's no real reason. Just Vanitas doing his usual unhinged stuff while the world burns downstairs. Jean's completely stunned. She didn't think a human would ever just offer himself up like this. He leans in close, making it even weirder. He's intrigued by the idea of her drinking his blood. This guy is built different. And then he drops the biggest bombshell. He looks her right in the eye and tells her he's in love with her. Jean's heart is absolutely thumping. The thirst, the confession, it's all becoming too much for her to handle. Visions of her past start flashing through her head. She's losing the battle against her instincts. She finally gives in. Jean sinks her fangs into his neck, and the room goes silent for a second. She's drinking aggressively, draining him like her life depends on it. The bloodlust is finally being fed. Vanitas doesn't even flinch. He just lets her drink, watching her with that same unbothered expression. She pulls away, looking completely dazed. Her face is bright red, and it's definitely not just from the blood. The bite mark is deep, and the mood on the balcony is complicated, to say the least. They catch their breath under the glowing moon. But the peace doesn't last for long. A sinister laugh echoes from the shadows below. The nightmare isn't over yet. Charlatan shows up again, looking like a distorted mess of pure malice. It's ready for round 2. Noe isn't playing games anymore. He puts all his strength into his next move, literally cracking the floor. "You!" he screams as he launches himself at the shadow, ready to tear it apart. "Out of the way!" Vanitas suddenly drops back into the fight, leaping right over Noe's head. He unleashes the Book of Vanitas, and a massive burst of blue energy starts rewriting the entire scene. Charlatan is literally trying to rip Noe's soul out of his chest right now. This is a total nightmare. That grin on Charlatan's face is pure nightmare fuel. It's definitely enjoying this. Because of this thing. Noe is paralyzed as the shadow reaches deep into his core. Charlatan whispers about seeing him before through someone else's eyes. Things just got way too personal. The name Louis flashes back, and the trauma starts hitting Noe like a truck. "I'd really rather you were the one to kill me." This memory is living rent-free in Noe's head. A young girl with long black hair, Dominique de Sade, screams for Noe as the vibe turns tragic. Young Noe Archiviste, the silver white-haired boy, looks absolutely broken. Honestly, can you blame him? Dominique is sobbing, and Noe's just staring like he's completely lost in the sauce. There's blood everywhere. This childhood was definitely not the wholesome content we signed up for. Mina, Fanny, Fred, everyone's gone. The scene is a total massacre. Young Noe stands in a literal graveyard of his friends, covered in blood. This is dark. He's crying his eyes out. The trauma from that day is officially peaking. He remembers a young vampire boy with dark hair and a tragic gaze. Louis de Sade, Dominique's brother. He was mature and always there. This was Noe's friend. The one who ended up beheaded because of the curse. Flashback to when it all started. Noe asks a mysterious tall figure in a plague doctor mask, the teacher, what a curse bearer is. The teacher is being his usual mysterious self, keeping secrets like it's his full-time job. He introduces his grandchildren, Louis and his little sister Dominique. They're going to be Noe's new family. "I need to leave again." The teacher is basically dumping Noe on these random kids and dipping. Dominique gives him a big, bright smile. It's the most wholesome thing we've seen so far. Noe and Louis have their first awkward handshake. The start of a legendary and tragic friendship. Louis just calls him a poor thing. Talk about a weird first impression for a 5-year-old. The kids are asking Noe about being raised by humans. They literally can't believe it's real. Louis is out here hanging from trees calling Noe a dummy for believing everything humans say. Noe is not having the human slander. He's defending his human grandparents with his whole heart. We see his human grandpa and grandma. They look like the sweetest people on earth. Noe is sobbing because Dominique was being mean, and Louis is just like, apologize already. They finally make up and just vibe in the grass. Peak childhood friendship goals. Noe explains that his grandparents died, which is how he ended up being found by the teacher. They're all cozy in their secret fort, talking about vampires who kidnap humans for labor. Heavy stuff. Bonsoir, little one. The teacher bought Noe, which sounds super sketch, but Noe didn't mind. Noe actually loved it. He thought traveling to the vampire world was just a fun trip. Louis is laughing his head off at how weird Noe is. He's totally unhinged. A montage of them just being kids, playing and laughing before everything went wrong. They even made friends with the village children. Pure, wholesome energy all around. Dominique is fascinated by Noe's ability to see things by drinking blood. She's ready to volunteer. She offers her blood like it's no big deal. Noe is just like, I'm good, thanks. But Noe's looking serious now. He starts realizing that Louis was always kind of alone, curled up in the darkness. Noe's inner monologue is getting deep about his own helplessness. Dominique used to visit monthly from the mansion, while Noe lived in the castle full-time. Louis was always in the library, claiming the house of de Sade already considered him dead. That's rough. Noe just watches him, not knowing what to say to someone who's already given up on living. Young Noe Archiviste and Dominique de Sade looking at the moon like it's the most normal thing ever. The blue moon is honestly a whole aesthetic, even if it's supposedly cursed. Louis de Sade is out here questioning his life choices to his grandfather, the teacher. The teacher is being cryptically annoying as usual. What a mood. You're free. Do as you please. Worst advice ever for a cursed kid, to be honest. Louis is definitely plotting something, and it's giving major red flags. Noe starts realizing Louis has been acting kind of sus lately. Things are changing. Louis is carving wood like he's trying to start a DIY channel, but with a very sharp knife. It's a secret. Yeah, because that totally makes it less suspicious. Not. Louis is gazing into the distance like he's the lead in a sad indie movie. He's officially ghosting the teacher. The project he's working on is never ending. Louis looks like he's fighting some internal demons, and it's not looking good. Noe finally tries to intervene because this situation is getting way out of hand. Is there something I can do? Noe is such a loyal bestie. It's actually painful to watch. Louis just looks at him like they're speaking two different languages. The disconnect is real. Dominique runs in with the tea, and it's actually horrible news about their friend Mina. Mina's getting executed tomorrow? That's zero chill from the vampire high society. Louis is dropping cold, hard facts about how curse bearers get beheaded. No mercy here. Noe wants to go on a rescue mission, but Louis is shutting that down immediately. Can you erase the blue moon's curse? Louis is being a total hater right now. He literally shoves Noe and tells him to go try if he's so brave. Friendship ended. There's nothing you can do. Louis has officially entered his villain era, and it's scary. Noe is just lying there in shock. This friendship breakup is hitting different. Why? Noe is just trying to process how things escalated this fast. Poor kid. Fast forward to the ruins, and Noe is desperately looking for his friends in the dark. He finally finds Louis, but the vibes are absolutely rancid right now. Louis says he was waiting for Noe to want something. That's low-key terrifying to hear. The village kids didn't stand a chance. It's a literal bloodbath in the ruins. Mina and Fred are dead. This is officially the worst day of Noe's entire life. Louis is standing over the bodies like it's just another Tuesday. He's completely gone. Suddenly Louis is in pain, and Noe is still trying to help him. Why is he like this? Louis is craving blood like he's been fasting for a month. He's totally lost control. He attacks Noe, and things are getting messy. The trauma is real. Noe is sobbing and taking all the blame. This is actual emotional damage. Kill me, Noe. The trauma is peaking. This is peak tragic anime content. Louis knows he's done for. The executioners are coming for his head any minute. He wants Noe to be the one to end it. That's a lot of pressure for a kid. Noe is crying because he literally can't do it. He's just too soft for this life. Louis is actually drinking his blood now. The sound effects are honestly gross. Noe's face says it all. This is definitely not how he expected this day to go. Dominique is watching from the sidelines, and she's definitely going to need therapy after this. The teacher pops up like he didn't just let a massacre happen. Hurrying home was the right move. Absolute savage. The teacher is just standing over young Noe Archiviste like a literal nightmare after the massacre. Noe is honestly going through it right now. The trauma is visible on every inch of his face. Thinking it's abominable to feel relieved you're still alive? That's some peak self-loathing. He's literally crying into his hands. My heart is actually breaking for this poor kid. Teacher. Noe is reaching out to the one person who probably makes everything worse, curled up on the couch like a ball of pure sadness. We've all been there after a bad day. Dominique de Sade comes in with a mystery chest that Louis de Sade left behind. Suspicious vibes. Apparently this was a gift for No, meant for when the time comes. Major red flag. The chest drops and a bunch of wooden stakes spill out. Not exactly the unboxing I was hoping for. Noe is looking at these stakes like he just saw a ghost. Or something much worse. Flashback to when Louis was actually making them. Stakes? Noe was so innocent back then. It's a secret because it's a present for you. Louis was out here crafting his own exit strategy. The realization hits Noe like a freight train. He finally gets what they were for. Ghostly Louis is literally asking Noe to stab him through the heart. Zero chill in this memory. I'm sorry, Louis. Noe is spiraling into apologies because he couldn't do what was asked. In the present, charlatan Nina is taking full advantage of this trauma. Absolute parasite behavior. Would you give it to me? Charlatan is thirsty for that true name tea. Don't do it, Noe, leaning in like a creepy stalker. You can't do a single thing. The gaslighting is intense. Suddenly, a wild "Non!" appears, cutting through the dark energy. Someone's interrupting the party. Vanitas pops up in Noe's head. I am a doctor, one who specializes in vampires. Best timing ever. Slashes of blue energy start clearing the room. It's finally time for some action. Noe realizes Vanitas is actually here. The backup has arrived, and it's looking flashy. Vanitas just pops into the frame like he owns the place. So you lot are charlatan, No fear. Charlatan is definitely shook. Vanitas has officially entered the chat, and things are about to get real. Lucius, Luca, and Jean are caught in the middle of absolute chaos. Jean tells the shadow monster to back off and stay away from her master. Luca checks on her, seeing blood on her neck, but Jeannie is focused on the threat. Noe Archivist looks completely lost, while Vanitas just smirks like he knows something they don't. Jean asks the monster what it even is. It just thinks this whole bedlam is a joke. The thing's face is straight up terrifying. Vanitas tells Nainia to knock it off. Charlatan, Nainia, doesn't seem pressed at all, just waiting for the situation to get worse. Noe freezes. That voice sounds way too familiar for comfort. The entire ballroom goes into full panic mode as the ceiling starts coming down. People are getting tossed around everywhere. Someone calls out for No. Nainia gets real close to him, whispering about his true name and Louis de Sade. It vanishes into the shadows, leaving Noe reaching for air and demanding answers. Luca and Jean decide it's officially time to bounce. Noe is still processing the trauma when a familiar face shows up. Dominique de Sade has entered the chat, and she's not happy about the mess in the hall. She basically tackle hugs No. He's clearly not prepared for this energy right now. She slaps him back to reality because they have actual life or death problems to solve. Vanitas explains this dissonance orchestra is a mass curse outbreak. Dominique asks if he's legit. He says he's got it handled. Dominique decides she's his personal bodyguard for the night. They spot their first patient hanging off a chandelier. Vanitas and No dive straight into the thick of it without a second thought. The grimoire flares up. It's time for the doctor to put in some work. Noe watches him, finally realizing Vanitas wasn't actually capping about saving people. The local vampires are skeptical. They think he's just making the curse bearers worse. Everything settles for a second. Noe actually stops to thank him. Vanitas acts like it's no big deal, even though he just performed a miracle. He tells Noe not to get the wrong idea. He's not doing this to be a hero. Dominique spots one more curse bearer left and tells them to get moving. Suddenly, a new player enters the chat. Veronica de Sade is not a fan of Dominique hanging out with a human male. Noe and Vanitas keep pushing through the crowd toward the last patient. They find her, and Vanitas's entire vibe shifts instantly. The monster, Catherine, is barely holding on to her sanity, begging for it to stop. Noe remembers her as a normal noblewoman. Now she's a multi-faced nightmare. Vanitas looks cold. He says they're too late to actually restore her body. Catherine begs them to kill her before she loses control and hurts her own sister. Noe tries to stop him, but Vanitas is already drawing his blade. He's doing things his way, no matter what methods he has to use. He activates the book one more time. The light is blinding. No screams for him to stop as the grimoire's power surges through the room. It's over. Catherine's monster form is literally crumbling away into nothing. She's human again for one last moment before fading. Vanitas just stands there, cold as ice. Noe grabs Vanitas by the collar, demanding to know why he's so angry. Vanitas isn't having it, reminding him that he said from the jump he'd save everyone. He doubles down, making it clear that, regardless of what anyone actually wants, he's going to save them without fail. Noe is left standing there, haunted by voices from his past begging for death. He starts to wonder if this outcome is even what salvation looks like. He stares at Vanitas, completely unable to wrap his head around the human's methods or his mindset. The question of what salvation really is hangs in the air as everything around them continues to fall apart. Vanitas snaps him out of his spiral with a joke, asking if he sprained his leg while they were dancing. Noe just looks up at him, still lost in thought.